Hello and welcome to IdeaGen TV, powered by Azure and presented globally by Microsoft. Today we are thrilled to welcome Dr. Christine Galib, Senior Director of Programs at the ION Houston, as well as Chair of IdeaGen Houston-Galveston and Philadelphia. Dr. Galib is joined by an incredible group of panelists as they discuss the importance of UN SDG Goal 11, Sustainable Cities and Communities. Christine, welcome.
Well, I am so thankful to be here. We are talking about 17 days of sustainability with a focus on Goal 11 for today's panel, Sustainable Cities and Communities. My name is Dr. Christine Galib, and I'm the Senior Director of Programs at the ION, and I'm fortunate enough to be the chair of IdeaGen Houston-Galveston, as well as Philadelphia. All those areas have very special meanings for me. So without further ado, I would love to introduce our panel for today, and I'll call them up one by one, give them a chance to introduce themselves. Today, again, talking about Goal 11. So I'd love to call up first Tanya Daniel, who is a rock star in and of her own right, and she will give a little bit about her organization and what she does.
Thank you, Christine. Deeply honored to be a part of this panel, and thank you for inviting me again. As Christine introduced me, my name is Tanya. I lead entrepreneurship initiatives for JA of Southeast Texas, and I really help high school students unleash their entrepreneurial spirit and junior achievement through the company program, which is the program that our office has pioneered for the past 2 years. We actually empower student cohorts to create their own startups while at high school. And sustainability is very close to my heart personally. I worked in that field several years prior to joining JA, and we actually encourage our students as they ideate, as they use design and agile thinking to really focus and look at the 17 SDGs when they try to create solutions to the problems that plague our society, and rapid urbanization is one of them. So thank you again to IdeaGen and Christine for this invite.
Tanya, we're so glad that you are here and can't wait to dive in as we not only introduce the rest of our panel, but get into some of the discussion. So in the spirit of introducing leaders in the Houston area who are deep in the work of sustainability, I'd love to call up now to the stage Lisa Morano, who is over many different institutes and will tell us a little bit about what she does in the realm of academia.
Hi, my name is Lisa Morano, and I am a professor of biology and microbiology at the University of Houston downtown. And a handful of years ago, we started also the Center for Urban Agriculture and Sustainability at UHD. So there, our focus is on student experiential learning and also building new curriculum. So at UHD, we have about 15,000 students, and we didn't have any sustainability programs. As an instructor of environmental biology, I really wanted to try to make a difference in their lives. And so what we did was we built some new curriculum, renewable energy technologies, fundamentals of sustainability, a capstone class, a minor in sustainability, and that minor is open to all students, any major, because we know that's super important. And then we've built a bunch of experiential learning programs. So we have a year-long program called the Sustained Scholars Program, where students work in teams of different majors to build something that's run on renewable power. We also have Eco Reps program and a bunch of other kind of outreach educational activities to help students really learn and gain some agency and have the confidence that they can make changes in their own neighborhoods after they graduate.
Awesome. So Tanya, Lisa, we're highlighting the programs that engage our youth in cities. We're highlighting some of the programs within the academic institution of the University of Houston downtown. Our next two panelists are very close to the work we do at the ION. They have both gone through the ION Smart and Resilient Cities Accelerator. So I'll first call up to the virtual stage Samantha Snabes, who is the CEO of one of our startups and can talk a little bit about her work there.
Thanks so much for having me today. Let me know if you can't hear me. I know my connection's been a little bit wacky. So for context, I'm the co-founder and catalyst for Re3D. Full disclosure, I'm a reservist. on the weekends, but I spend my time supporting our team from our Austin and Puerto Rican offices that work alongside our factory in Houston, Texas, where we manufacture large, affordable, industrial 3D printers. They start at the size of a toilet and now go as big as a shipping container. And with the support of ION and the Global Pitch community, as well as the National Science Foundation, SBIR program, we've been able to modify the filament-based plastic 3D printers that we were already selling in 50 countries to print directly from plastic pellets or shredded up plastic. So that provides another way, 2 more ways to print directly from garbage. So currently, thanks to the support of NSF, we are at the end of our phase 2 and supplements with the National Science Foundation, and we are selling a platform that can do that in beta. It's already traversed 3 continents. Some of them are being sold alongside customers that have our filament-based printers. And recently, we received a matching grant from the Puerto Rican Science and Research Trust to source a shipping container that has the printers and the equipment to process waste in it as a strategic pilot in Puerto Rico. So we'll be looking at taking water bottles and shredding them up and then seeing with 2 individuals who employ on the island what they'll create that can have local value over 6 months. We've also had the honor of working alongside Canon in Houston that has a program for recycling toner cartridges to look at pelletizing or that plastic and other waste streams that they have into flake as well, and seeing what we can make to create a market for that recycling program. And then in Austin, we're working with a Habitat for Humanity Restore, pairing excess scrap and waste and low value items that they have or damaged goods with our printer and then running a social experiment to see how much people would pay for the goods and the furniture that are created. So in short, this technology is very nascent. There's a lot of types of trash out there and a lot of variables, but we're really looking, as we think about sustainable and smart cities, I think it's incumbent to show successes and failures and really start to look at closed loop strategic pilots within the communities we live and work to see where this fits in and where it doesn't as we think about shorter supply chains and on-demand manufacturing and greener communities.
Awesome. I love that. And you're teeing us up for our discussion. And before we get into our discussion, last but certainly not least, Shern Peters, who has a very unique approach to making transportation a little bit more sustainable.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak once again. Shern Peters, the CEO and founder of Nanko Aero, and we make flying cars, right? And our vision is flying cars for all. Cities are growing. Urban cities are becoming denser, like Houston, 8 million people and growing, and many other cities growing just as fast, if not faster. Now, how will all these people move about when roads can't keep up? Our goal is to provide airways of the sky for everybody. It is time to move into the 3rd dimension, but to do it in a smart way. Now, that is a way for us where we find the cities to be sustainable, because Houston just had a hurricane and some people just can't get through the roads. It's flooded. So getting to the airways definitely improves the city for the future. And I call that sustainability. Now, in terms of the vehicle itself, well, we need to incorporate those materials, recycled materials, green materials, as well as the fuel, it being eco-friendly. So the vehicle itself must be sustainable, as well as the solution needs to be sustainable to the environment that we go in. So that is my take on it, and I'll go ahead and sit back and listen to the rest.
Well, you won't be listening for too long because we'll get you back in for the chat. All 4 of you have shared a little bit about your work and how it relates to Goal 11, which is making cities and human settlements inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable. So we've talked about some of the work you've done, but behind all the great work, there's certainly speed bumps and road bumps along the way. So I'd love to know a little bit more about the challenges that maybe you've encountered along the way. And more than the challenges, how have you been able to overcome them? So we'll bring, maybe Shern, because you said you wanted to listen, we'll bring you right back up to talk. So go ahead and kick us off by responding to that question.
I know the challenge earlier on was, getting people to believe you're building a flying car. No way, get out of here. You can't do that. So one, proving that it can be done, proving that we can do it. Now it's just rallying the troops, getting people more involved. Like first you got to get a team and a good plan. A good team and a good plan is absolutely necessary to pull off what some say was impossible, very much possible. Now we got to put in the work. For me, that was the biggest challenge. We haven't quite gotten over it. Of course, we're building out the team. We're still looking for a few more members. So if you're interested, we would love to have you. But as well as the capital, there's no way you can build a full-size flying car on the free. So and then make it sustainable. So getting that capital in Houston is kind of like the next but biggest hurdle. After that, I think we'll be off to the races of actually putting your flying cars in the air.
Well, I appreciate what you're saying kind of about building that awareness and buy-in. And I'd love to maybe hear a little bit from Lisa, because I know she's created different types of learning experiences and curricula very successfully. And so I'd love to hear a little bit more about how you've navigated that, Lisa, at UHD.
Well, it's not trivial to add new courses because the degree plans are already very, very tight, right? So there's not a lot of room. So one of the things we did was we created a minor where if you choose wisely, you can choose some things from your own degree plan. And also not making things just elective, but part of a minor. Another challenge is just with experiential learning programs that we offer is really trying to think strategically about how to engage students. Most of the students at UHD are putting themselves through school. So if we don't link some kind of stipend or money to an experiential learning opportunity, students won't be able to take advantage of that. So just really trying to think from the student perspective. We know that the future is in their hands and they're very passionate and they're very smart. But we have to give them opportunities that allow them to still feed themselves, right? So that's been one of my challenges is looking for grants and funds so that students can work hard on projects they're passionate about, but still be able to afford everything else they have going on in their world.
And in listening to your response, I thought of my own education where I had those experiential hands-on types of programs that were completely immersive. I mean, they were life-changing. And so I'd love to go to Tanya because I know she lives and breathes that world for her students in her program.
Thank you, Christine. When I listen to Lisa and Sharon as well, the challenges I face and continue to face are all about the mindset, right? Apart from lack of funding and sponsorships, I really think that we need a cultural shift towards sustainable thinking, right? We talk about cultivating the entrepreneurial mindset. It's also about cultivating a sustainable mindset. And that's one of the biggest challenges. I remember reading a Body Shop survey in 2019 when I first took over the J Company program, where 80% of the teenagers that they polled said that they face a lot of pressure to be sustainable in their actions, but they didn't really know how to. And 44% of them hadn't even heard the term sustainability in their classrooms. And so how do we then create this shift through the company program? And that's when we started thinking about innovation challenges. And we're having our first sustainability roundtable in 2022, which took 2 years to get to this stage. And just be inspired by what Junior Achievement Hong Kong is doing, where they actually introduced a 4-month STEM kind of innovation challenge, and they've transformed the Kowloon East area into a smart and resilient city with a bunch of high schoolers. And so just be inspired by what your peers are doing and focus on shifting the mindset, because I think that's when true and at times radical change can take place in a good way.
And I love what you're saying about the mindset, because it starts with just maybe 1 or 2 words at a time. And that journey of an entrepreneur. And Sam, I'm coming to you now. Samantha's done a great job of taking the idea from a word to a very robust company whose reach spans not just deep into communities, but broad across continents. So Samantha, I would love to give you the mic and hear a little bit about some of the challenges that you faced in building sustainable cities.
Yeah, I'm not sure where to begin. But I would say, I feel insurance pain with hiring, and similar to flying cars, there aren't a lot of garbage printers out there. And when you think about doing that at scale in a way that's sustainable, no pun intended, it is tricky because you're working with unproven mountain markets, and there's going to be successes and failures, and it's high risk. We've navigated the capital requirement through the SBIR and grant programs and pitching and accelerator networks to date. But I think one of the things we encounter is I feel like, and this might be a little bit unfair, that in the United States, sustainability maybe isn't as big of a theme as it is with some of our peers or customers in Europe. So in terms of like additional financing for sustainability initiatives, especially non-dilutive, and then just having the buy-in from corporate strategics who are willing to partner with us, potentially at a loss, to investigate the opportunity, is much less common than what we're seeing from the newsletters we get of major corporates and strategics, say in Chile and LATAM via the Startup Chile newsletter, or what we hear about through all of the UN and initiatives in Europe. So financing is a component, but more importantly, like having access to those strategics that have the biggest waste sources is really important. And what we learned when we talk to a lot of them in the US in particular is they're not even sure how much waste is generated. And they're still trying to wrap their minds around, what 3D printing is and how their supply chains get restructured. We also, in parallel, we manufacture a physical product locally, and trade skills for years, as has been mentioned in other conversations, has been dwindling in the US. So it's very difficult for a lean startup to recruit talent that has expertise to do the fabrication. So particularly in Houston, we've had a job posting for a machinist now, I think, that's been up for almost 4 years. So that's been really difficult. So we find ourselves as a startup in this conversation to invest in sustainability dialogue, is, despite being so small, to invest in conversations around economic development and trade skills, which will enable closed loop and locally driven sustainable solutions. And then in parallel, a lot of what we find is even beyond just a pilot stage, to truly do these closed loop opportunities at scale, it is incumbent on standards to allow for the products and the solutions to be integrated at scale. And so we find ourselves in a lot of conversations around standards and policy that, again, we never thought that we were qualified or would see ourselves stepping in. So I would say, if you are in a sustainable cities conversation with your innovation technology, you find yourself quickly in a lot of dialogue all the time. And then you have to really respect that it's an ecosystem of players like ION and the city of Houston that have to come in to help rally and augment.
And I like that you brought that up about kind of the ecosystem of players, because, no one can do this alone. And I think part of our dialogue here, we've got to talk a little bit about partnerships and the role of collaborators and collaborations and what really makes a good partner. So I'll give you a little bit of a break, but let's go over maybe to Lisa and let her kind of kick it off with, in executing these experiential learning activities, what partners have you brought on board to help with that?
Yeah, so we have had a lot of partners, and I'm very thankful for that. So a lot of urban farms in Houston have given us their time and let us do tours and put students as interns. We have had nonprofits. There's a lot of fantastic nonprofits in Houston. And I also just think, like the city infrastructure, trying to make connections with people in the green building area or in the mayor's office. All of these matter because our goal, right, at the university is human capital, right? And so we are trying to give students not only some knowledge, but also some professional skills so that they can actually change the world, right? They can change their own neighborhoods, issues of environmental justice, issues of food deserts. I can't change those. The university can't change those, but they can change those if we give them the knowledge and skills that they need. And so those community partners are really important in helping us bridge kind of that real life experience for the students, and also to take us to new ideas that we didn't even think about before. And of course, the students will work tirelessly if they're passionate about it, which is really exciting. So we just sometimes have to like connect people together.
And I like what you're saying about connecting people together. I'm going to go to Tanya to weigh in and comment a little bit here, because that's really one of the most powerful things I think about JA's work is your ability to connect with partners. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about your comments on this.
Thank you, Christine, and right back at you. I think that the ION, and especially you with your leadership, you guys have been such incredible connectors. And I totally agree with what Lisa is saying, because the J Company program, our soul lies in our partnerships, whether it's our mentors who nurture our emerging student startups, whether it is our sponsors who provide us the platforms that did not exist previously. And in that instance, I want to give a big shout out to the ION, because that's where that shifting of the mindset takes place. The more we come together with a shared vision and shared goals, as diverse as our voices may be, coming together and having the right messaging to tell our students that the world we live in matters, the planet we live in matters, I think will really, really help. And in that instance, just connecting with all our JA board companies who have been incredibly supportive in the mission, I think has been a game changer for us this year, especially coming out of the pandemic and still having to deal with the evolving pandemic.
And I like, Tanya, that you're kind of creating this landscape of also we're all in this together. At the end of the day, you know, we've all kind of got to look out for each other, because if we don't, then even if we're all shooting for the same goal, right, sustainable cities, we're going to miss big opportunities to partner. We might recreate the wheel. We might duplicate efforts. We might be off base. And so I want to kind of tilt our conversation a little bit to really the startups in our room here with Samantha and Sharon. Give us some advice on, you know, whether it's to a partner, whether it's to a potential sponsor, maybe it's to another entrepreneur out there. What's your best advice for getting involved in making cities more sustainable? Sharon, we'll start with you.
Thanks. I'd say keep working, keep collaborating. Big thing is networking. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for networking all the way to the point of, you know, getting with the ION and meeting the ION and, you know, meeting Christine and, you know, then being here with other ecosystem sustainability supporters. Right. So that networking is a big part, because you get a chance to hear what others are doing. So from our perspective, Nanko Aero building an actual vehicle, I'm looking at sustainability, industry 4.0, additive manufacturing. And that's all thinking of that just in-house, if I had not gone out to meet other people, I would have not found RE3D, which is Samantha and her team, in which they are building large scale 3D printers that we would potentially use. There was almost a potential of recreating a wheel when we really could collaborate. And, since that will happen, just look out for that. But ideas like that, you would never know what could happen that will work for the benefit of the whole ecosystem. If you don't get out there, meet people, network, tell people about your idea, don't be afraid, so that they can see, oh, there is alignment. There's multiple alignment, multiple mutual benefits. Hey, let's do it. And then kind of, not really hold each other accountable, but work towards accountability to ensure it happens, because it's good for you and good for all.
Yeah, I would definitely echo that. I would say, for the startups, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So, every day just work towards taking that one small step till progress. And, while it can be frustrating at times, when you look back over 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, it's amazing how much you can get done through those collaborations, and also just to stay humble and to not be intimidated. There's other people in your field. Like when you're taking on these mountains, there's plenty of opportunity to position yourself to be distinct, and also to collaborate with individuals in your ecosystem that may overlap. And then for the corporates listening, or the strategics, as Sharon pointed out, sometimes you will in integrating these opportunities, it will be multidisciplinary, and that you may have to partner with an NGO, a university, as well as a startup, or startups plural, that have mutual connectivity, such as our companies. And so be willing to work with multiple players.
I love that advice. And just kind of on the subject of that, we've got 4 game changers here in this room. So I know they're on LinkedIn. I won't speak for them, but they're out there in the network. They're happy to connect. They're rolling up their sleeves and really doing the work that it takes to make our cities more sustainable. So, final question for our panelists before we sign off for the day. Is there anything to add, or any call to action that you want to give any of our viewers? I saw Tanya nodding right along. So maybe Tanya, we go to you first, then Lisa, then Samantha, and then Sharon. So Tanya, go ahead.
Absolutely. Support sustainable businesses. Sometimes it's really hard to immediately dive into sustainable practices. I know I've been guilty of that, but this year I took the challenge of actually starting my own little urban garden. I have a tiny little backyard, and I started growing peppers and limes and basil and cilantro, and it made me feel amazing, because I think urban agriculture is going to really, really be a game changer in the future. And support sustainable businesses if you're not exhibiting those practices yourself, because the more these sustainable businesses grow, the better the world will become. A world that I think in the next few years we'll probably see more mega cities than we've ever in our lifetime. So that's my call to action, Christine.
I love it. Lisa.
I think mine would be to invest time in the young people, right? Say yes to an intern. It's a little bit of work. It's a little bit of extra work, but we have, time is running out, and the young people are the ones who are going to take us to the next place we need to be. And we really need to empower them with the knowledge and skills that they need to help us change the world. So invest in that, invest in a single student, a single person, because if we all did that, it would have a huge impact.
Samantha.
Yeah, I totally agree. Definitely support your small businesses as well. There's been a lot of emphasis sometimes around the Silicon Valley funded companies, or MIT startups doing great things, but just know you don't have to have a college degree to start your own business and to contribute to this conversation. There's everybody is needed to in this endeavor. So if you are inspired and want to roll up your sleeves, please reach out to all of us. There's so much work to be done, and it is an extremely inclusive opportunity.
Sharon.
All right. Again, confirming everything that everybody else just said, I agree with. But for us, if you can support your startups, support your local startup. We are also a startup looking to make big changes. If you want to do anything with urban air mobility, with what we're doing, flying cars and how to make them, fly them, definitely look out for our website, Nanko, Nanco.aero. Fill out a form at the bottom of the page. That's how you could definitely get in with us. And if we could be an entry to the rest of the ecosystem, or you could do the same thing to the rest of the group, but the goal is to get into the ecosystem and be involved is what I would advise, to take action. So thank you for the time.
I love it. This has been a fabulous panel. And just having Tanya, Lisa, Samantha, Shern in the room, I've learned so much. Every single level, we've got startups tackling problems and challenges. We've got people in our academic institutions like Lisa who are developing new curricula. We've got people like Tanya who are out there with our high school students, giving them immersive and experiential learning opportunities. So to the four of you, thank you so much. It really takes a village to raise a child. And I know that with you all in my village and in our city of Houston, we're not just raising children, but we are really raising a whole sustainable city. So thank you so much for your leadership. Everyone, thank you for your time. To all of our viewers, thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.